Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. What a game for the Dodgers today. Hey, that was just absolutely great baseball. The Dodgers gave up the 2 spot early on, just kept fighting and kept coming back, and eventually Shoheiohtani had the big hit at the end of the game that gave the Dodgers a big victory over the Tigers 4-3 Friday night in the big town of Detroit. Hey, there was a lot of action in this game. These are the types of games that I really like. And I also think these are the types of games that can really kind of spark some momentum, because the one thing about this game is that it was a total team effort. I mean, you had all these different pitchers going with Evan Phillips and then Michael Peterson. It felt like today was a trust tree moment for Michael Peterson. You had Blake Trinan, you had Daniel Hudson, and then obviously you had the big Maple, who just, we'll get into him here in a minute, but just not enough length in my opinion, and not enough pitch mix to go. And it's going to be interesting to see how they handle him in the second half of the season, because there's a lot of I know Oral mentioned on the broadcast today, there's a lot of innings to be had for the Dodgers in the second half. And the last thing that the Dodgers want is a starter that only gives, 3, maybe 4 innings. And you have to use your bullpen that way every single night. That would be tough. But hey, this was a great game. This was a game that saw the Dodgers with 2 strikes many different times, shorten up their swings, be contact-oriented with their best hitters, Freddie Freeman being one, Shoheiohtani being one, willsmith being one, Austinbarnes being one. Christaylor had the nice hit to right field, of which, by the way, I've said many different times that Christaylor, the way that he lifts, he's got to hit the baseball on the back part of his swing. And when he hits the baseball on the back part of his swing, he actually is pretty good and can create some consistency. So, hey, Mr. Seabad, thank you for joining this evening. An impromptu show, of course, being on the East Coast, it's not as late for me, so I have the ability to do a post-game. No ability to do a pregame. We like to do Friday night live shows, and this gave us a chance to do that. Probably going to go live tomorrow, too. Going to have the Down on the Farm in the morning as well. Also going to release the Trey Sweeney interview in the morning as well. So a lot to go at Dodgers Daily. Probably a live show, an interview with Trey Sweeney, and a Down on a Farm coming to you tomorrow. So Mr. Seabad, thank you so much for joining. Craig, thank you so much for joining. 208 Patriot, thank you so much as well. So it's like you've lost 4 in a row. You're on the road. Your pitcher, James Paxton, I mean, he has a fastball, and the fastball is like 94, 95, 96, of which that was one of the reasons why I was excited about the Dodgers going and getting him, because I thought they could elevate his fastball to like 97, 98, 99. And then not only he threw a couple of knuckle curves. I liked how he attacked Canna after the double. Because so you're down 2-0, you're getting ready to go down 3-0. It's getting ready to be a big crooked number, and he does throw the knuckle curve to Canna, so sprinkled it in some, but just not enough velo combined with, if you're going to have that kind of velo, and really the fastball is only the reliable pitch, and it's not always for a strike. So you don't have a whole big mix, and then you don't have enough strikes, and then every single bloop, I know Oral Horsizer mentioned this in the game, and this is exactly right, every single bad break, whenever you don't throw strikes and you give free baseball, goes against you, because every time there's a bloop hit by the other team, you've walked a guy, there's a guy at second base, and it harms you. So the Dodgers need to figure out James Paxton. They need to figure out what they're going to do with his rotation. I would have 0 issues with bringing up Alec Gamboa. Alec Gamboa was 96 last night for Oklahoma City. His spin rate touched 2,500. He offers a slider, also a changeup. He's a guy that's providing length for Oklahoma City. He's been a starter in the past. He's a world-class athlete. I don't know. I was messaging with a couple of guys back and forth, and they said they would be down for that as well. But the Dodgers need more length. Like we said, you don't have to go scoreless and shut out, but you got to have more than one pitch. You got to throw strikes. That's why you go get a veteran. You go get a veteran to give a professional outing, to have a professional pitch mix, to have professional execution. If you're going to have a guy that only has one pitch and then can only go 3 and however many innings, you might as well be using your future and getting experience for your young guys at that point. That's kind of where I'm headed with James Paxton. and it's because of the process. And then, hey, his escalators, I was talking to D-Mac. D-Mac mentioned that the escalators, I believe he makes one more start. That's $1 million for him. So I think the Dodgers are at a crossroads with James Paxton. Do you give him one more start and he reaches all of his escalators, or do you reach down into your farm and bring somebody back up and see if you can build a future and go about it that way? But anyways, it was a good job of him. After he gave up the double, it looked like the Dodgers were going to go down even more than they did after the early 2 spot. He threw the knuckle curve to Canna, did a good job there, and then sprinkled in enough curveballs. And then Tarek Skubal, he was good. I'll tell you this, though. We've seen Tarek Skubal and we've seen Garrett Crochet. And just from my very, very, very untrained eye, Garrett Crochet is substantially more explosive than Tarek Skubal. Tarek Skubal is going to get bad hitters out. He's going to get hitters out that he overmatches, but he relies on layering off-speed pitches. Yes, his fastball is 98, but it's not a 98 that makes hitters look bad. I mean, the Dodgers had good left-handed swings on his fastballs. The Dodgers had good right-handed swings on his fastballs. And so he relies on layering his off-speed pitches to get back to his fastball. And I just felt like Garrett Crochet, just watching the two, Crochet has more explosive stuff. The guy to go get, in my mind, having seen them both recently, and it's not close. To me, it's not. And I could be very wrong. I have a very untrained eye. It's not close. Go get Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet is more explosive. He has more of the dominant stuff. The Dodgers have the ability to manage his workload to where they can get him in a situation to where he can use that explosive stuff to win 3 or 4 games in the playoffs, which is really all they're going to need from him. So that's kind of the Tarek Skubal versus Garrett Crochet thing. I am squarely 1,000% in the Garrett Crochet basket. And also, I don't think Skubal is going to be available. Although I'll say this, I said this on the show earlier this week. I was at a game Tuesday night in Tulsa, and I was sitting next to all the scouts that I normally sit next to, and there was a Tiger scout there, and that Tiger scout knew that Oklahoma City was in town as well. And like I said at the time, I've never seen a Tiger scout in Tulsa or Oklahoma City. I'm sure they've been there. I've just never seen it with my own eyes. So I thought that was interesting, to say the least. And then also, I'll say this. It's one thing to say that, hey, we're not going to shop this guy. We're not going to do this. They're just leveraging. So whatever the Tigers are saying about Tarek Skubal, they're just trying to leverage him to be the most valuable as he possibly can be. So whenever a team says we're not dealing him, we're not doing this, they leak it out into the right type of reporters to make, all that does is they're trying to raise the price on him. So I don't believe that for a second that they wouldn't sell him if the Dodgers created the right package. But if it came down to the Dodgers could get Garrett Crochet or Tarek Skubal, I am 100% on the Garrett Crochet train. So Skubal had a good outing tonight. He was nice. He was not as explosive as I expected him to be. And I'll tell you what, I thought a real big moment early in this game was the home run by Freddie Freeman. And of course, the home run's great. The run's great. And it is Freddie Freeman. He's a Hall of Famer, and I know the Dodgers players, I'm sure they expect that from him. But when you see a left-on-left, like in the Crochet game, early on in that game, Shoheiohtani, Crochet dominated him. And you know that Dodgers dugout was like, oh, his stuff, if I get that, I'm not hitting it. So when a left-on-left, even though it is Freddie Freeman, even though it is a Hall of Famer, when you hit a home run like that, not just a little dink single, you stay on a home run, you hit through a baseball, you put a charge into one, that tells the dugout right there that if a left-on-left matchup can do that, then he's gettable. That fastball, that slider, that cutter, whatever pitch he's throwing there, that stuff is gettable. So I thought that home run early on from a mental perspective, not just a scoreboard perspective, was a really huge deal for Freddie Freeman and hitting that home run. So, hey, we have a great crowd logging in. Good afternoon and good evening, Mr. Seabad. Good evening, Craig. Good evening, 208 Patriot. Jerry Hunter, thank you so much for joining. Michael Craywick, thank you so much for checking in from Thailand. John Quimby, thank you so much for tuning in. Michael Craywick says, hi, Casey, a team win, much needed. It definitely was. That's the way that you break a 4-game losing streak. That's the way you create momentum for yourself. I would agree with that. Team operating on 6 of 8 cylinders, but managed a gut check test today, and they've done that several different times. Remember all the comebacks they've had this year. John Quimby evening off from Canada's East Coast. Nice. Very well. Matter of fact, I talked to Lucas Wepp. I'm going to release Lucas Wepp's interview. Now, he's west of Toronto, which isn't exactly the East Coast of Canada, but it's fairly close to being over there, and I'm going to release his interview on Tuesday. Very excited about that. So thank you so much for joining from the East Coast of Canada, John Quimby. Mr. Seabat, nice Dallas Cowboys hat. Yeah. Michael Craywick, Casey and a river runs through a time. Agree with all your takes. Yeah. River Ryan, he'd have to be added to the 40-man. I'm also on the Alec Gamboa train. I would rather see Alec Gamboa getting this innings than James Paxton. He has higher velo, he has a bigger pitch mix, and he's closer to 30 than he is 20. He's a diehard Dodgers fan. He's a world-class athlete. He's tough as hell, and he's due, and he's ready, and the Dodgers need to do right by that guy. I'm all for giving Alec Gamboa a shot. He's moved back to starter. So, yes, River Ryan, no doubt about it. Dave said after the All-Star break, but I think sooner rather than later, Alec Gamboa needs to get brought up and be given his shot. He's not going to do, I mean, he could, I guess, but the reason why you have like I said earlier, a Paxton is to create a higher floor, and he's not creating that higher floor right now, in my opinion. Hey, Cobra Commander, thank you so much for joining. Sorry I'm late. Traffic. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight. Yo, back to yourself. Jerry Hunter Paxton did this last year. Good first half and a bad second half. Mr. Seabad Paxton needs to eat innings and keep innings. That's all. Yes, and he's not doing that. That's kind of my point. Mr. Seabad, he just needs to go out and give you a professional outing. He needs to have more than one pitch. He needs to have the ball in the strike zone, not 32-pitch innings, and he needs to eat up 6 innings every time he goes out. He's at number 5. You're not evaluating him based on, is he going to help you in the playoffs? You're evaluating him on, can he help us get through the regular season? And so the way that he does that is exactly what you're saying, is by eating innings, and he's not doing that. So let's get somebody else in there that is. You guys know I am all about the merit system. The merit system. Austin Barnes, I've said Austin Barnes is on the merit system. How about him? He's done a very good job this year, had the big hit on, and we'll get into Dave Roberts and some of the decisions he made tonight. Dave did a wonderful job. I know I defended him on this morning's show as far as when they took Landon Knack out, kind of went through that process. I'm going to defend him again tonight because, hey, we do, and I do as well. We criticize Dave, or we second guess. That's the beauty of baseball. You can second guess just about everything when we feel like it's needed, but also we need to point out whenever Dave actually does do just a fantastic job, and he managed a great game tonight. Ryan R., thank you so much for joining. Hope Shohei gets hot again after that game-winning double. Man, I'll tell you what, that at bat in the 8th just disappointed me. He has 2 strikes on him, and it's a 1-run game, and if you're the pitcher, let me ask you this. If you got Shoheiohtani at the plate and you're the pitcher and you have a 1-run lead, where are you not going to pitch the ball? I'm not throwing it on the inner half of the plate because if I throw it on the inner half of the plate, we saw what's going to happen. He's going to absolutely mash. So I have no earthly idea why Shoheiohtani, that entire at-bat in the 8th inning, kept looking inside. He kept pulling off the ball, trying to cheat to an inside pitch, and he kept getting change-ups on the outer half, and eventually got himself out. I just thought that was a really bad at-bat by Shoheiohtani. I don't mean to throw shade. I just thought the approach there was not good by him. And so, like the great ones do, you have that bad at-bat. So what do you do your next at-bat when you have a chance to win the game? You come through for your team. And that's exactly what Shoheiohtani did. Jerry Hunter Crochet has injury. We know all about the injury history, Jerry. We've talked about that 100 different times. I've mentioned the load management part of it. The Dodgers can figure that out. They can do that. We've covered that. That is the risk to Garrett Crochet. That there's no doubt about it. But the Dodgers have Landon Knack. They have Gavin Stone. They have River Ryan. They have Alec Gamboa. They have all the guys, and you're getting ready to get. Hey, I'm getting ready to go see Clayton Kershaw tomorrow in Oklahoma City. You're going to get Tyler Glasnow back after the All-Star break. By the way, like whenever we had that first show when Yamamoto got hurt, we told you that it was going to be the 1st of August. Yamamoto's not feeling pain there. Now, that's not guaranteed that's going to happen, but that looks like what's going to happen. 1st of August for Yamamoto. No pain right now. Going to start throwing here in a bit. You're going to add back Tyler Glass now. You're going to add back Yamamoto. You're going to maybe add back Clayton Kershaw. You got Gavin Stone. You got Landon Knack. You got River Ryan. Kyle Hurt's going to start throwing baseballs here in about probably 10 days or so. You got Alec Gamboa. You got plenty of guys to eat innings that can load manage Garrett Crochet to the point to where you can prime him to use that dominant stuff primarily in the playoffs. Just throw him enough to keep him sharp till you get in the playoffs. Let him take that dominant stuff into the playoffs and be a left-handed Tyler Glass now. At that point, you would have the number one right-hander in strikeouts and the number one left-hander in strikeouts in the game. And then your number 3 would be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Then your number 4 might be Clayton Kershaw, Gavin Stone, or Landon Knack. That's a pretty good staff. So, again, one thing that you can't do a lot of times crashes. You start veering off the road to the right, and you overcompensate, and you go across the lane, and you end up in the ditch on the other side. That's what you don't want to do. Having said that, if you added a Garrett Crochet to all of that, that is a stat. Now, if you want to make the playoffs airtight, I get all of the unpredictability about it, and that's true. But the way to eliminate unpredictability is to have better pitchers than the other team. Pitching gives you courage, and if you keep the other team from scoring, this Dodgers offense, even in its down moments, which you're going to add back Mookie Betts, you need to figure out third base. I'm not convinced you're going to add back Max Muncy. At that point, with Glass now, Crochet, Yamamoto, Kershaw, Stone, Knack, you're a pretty darn good playoff staff. And then you add back Mookie Betts, you're a really good offense. That's probably the odds-on favorite of a team to win a World Series at that point. So I think, honestly, you're one move away from being a favorite to win the World Series, in my opinion, if you add Garrett Crochet. If you added an outfield bat, that's going to keep Andy Pages in center field because the impact bats are going to be corner guys. That's why you have to keep Andy Pages in center field right now. Because if you want to add a Randy Arozarena, where is he going to play? Well, if you want to add, maybe a Luis Robert Jr., I guess you could add, but most likely your impact back's going to come from the corner, which would keep Andy Pages in center field. But hey, if you wanted to throw James Outman in center field, put Andy Pages in right, and just basically say center field is a defensive spot. Hey, James, whatever you can give us offensively is a bonus just to get to people because defense up the middle is still a big deal. I don't care what anybody says. I'm okay with that too, but if the Dodgers do add an impact bat, I think it's probably going to be a corner outfielder, and I think at that point Andy Pages is still in center field, and because of that, I think he needs all the reps that he can get. Hey, Mr. Seabat, does a Tiger Scout show up in a leopard skin pants? Okay, that was a bad joke. Christopher Navarro, Paxton to the bullpen as mop-up long reliever, way too much traffic on the bases almost every inning. Yeah, man, I mean, it wears me out, and what wears me out about it is there's only one pitch that he's throwing, so if you're only throwing one pitch and it's only like average, I mean, it's 94, 95, 96, and you're still not throwing strikes, I mean, what do you got? I mean, we've got a lot of guys that can do that could help build the future, that would be hungry, that would be more efficient, that would probably eat more innings, and all of that. Jerry Hunter, why has Phillips not been in closing games lately? This is why I've always said it is 1,000% in the best interest of the Dodgers to use Evan Phillips to get the most important 3 outs of the game and not necessarily the last 3 outs. This was absolutely brilliant by Dave Roberts. So Dave knew that Tarek Skubal was coming to his end. He knew the pitch count of Skubal, and he knew that the Dodgers were down 1 run, and so he needed Phillips to come in the game. Johan Ramirez also came in the game as well, but that was a little bit earlier. That was only because that really you were scrambling at that point because Paxton forced you to scramble. But the Phillips decision, why did he come in at that point? Because you needed to keep in contact with the White Sox. The way the Dodgers have been playing offense or playing a lack of offense as of late, you couldn't afford to go down 2 or 3 runs. So what Doc did was he brought in Evan Phillips to bridge the inning to where then once Phillips came out, so did Skubal. So now you have a one-run game and Skubal's out. That's advantage Dodgers because the bullpen for the Tigers is not good. What the Dodgers still had left was Blake Trinan. They still had Daniel Hudson left. And so at that point, it was 100% squarely in the Dodgers' favor. All they had to do was score one run, and they did that, actually scored 2 runs and won. So bringing Evan Phillips in right at a point right in front of Skubal coming out and bridging that part of the game to keep it a one-run game and get it to make it a bullpen game that favored the Dodgers, that was brilliant managing. That was absolutely 100% brilliant managing. That's something that Dodgers fans need to recognize as a great move by Dave Roberts. No doubt about that. Okay, Mr. Seabat, on a serious note, should Dave Roberts shut it down now? So close to the All-Star break, bench Will Rojas 2 and pitch bullpen games. I wouldn't know because, I mean, I was talking to D-Mac about this earlier today. It's not just about the division. It's about, seedings in the playoffs, and you don't want to play a wild card round and all that. So every game matters. You got to play every game to win, no doubt about that. Sho-Time LA, hey, thank you so much for joining. Lots of people saying they've been told the Dodgers would like to sell high on DePaula. Thoughts? Yeah, I have thoughts on that. I'll keep them to myself. I don't know who all those people are. I don't know if they're people I've been talking to. I'll leave it to you at that. But if somebody came calling for a pitcher like a Crochet and DePaula was a part of that package, absolutely. I mean, he pulled that trigger 1,000%. I mean, he's an outfielder at the high A level that's never proved that he can really hit for a high average. He doesn't run all that great. What position is he going to play? He's probably going to play a corner position, but yet he has low launch angle. So there's lots of things about Josue DePaula. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but there's lots of things about Josue DePaula that could make you think maybe, hey, right now would be a sell high positioning for him. I can understand that if somebody thinks that way. He's not a guy that if you traded him away, I think you would go into the bathroom and just want to get sick about it, in my opinion, because he's still young and there's still parts of his game and positioning and future positioning that you haven't guaranteed and nailed down. So, yeah, I mean, I could see selling high on him. I would have zero issues with that, Sho-Time LA, but at the same time, there's only a couple of guys right now that I would really, really, really hesitate. And I say this all the time. I am all for trades because it's the best of all worlds. Look at Yorbit Vivas. Yorbit Vivas got called up to the major leagues today. I am so glad that happened for him. I'm so glad he's not with the Dodgers anymore because he would be stuck in Oklahoma City. He'd be behind Alan Trejo. He'd be behind Chris Owings. He'd be behind all these guys. He'd be playing third one day, be playing second one day, be playing left field the next day. He'd be toiling around. You go to the Yankees, you get called up, you become a major leaguer. The Dodgers got what they wanted in return for him. That's great. As a Dodgers fan, I love that fact. And then Yorbit got a better chance to become a major leaguer. So keep that in mind too, Sho-Time Ole, that I am always, always pro-trade because I believe it's best for both sides. I think it would be best for Josue DePaula if it happened. And then also it'd be best for the Dodgers for whatever return they got for Josue DePaula as well. John Quimby, show me a current elite pitcher without an injury history. That's kind of a problem for the game. Well, yeah, that's maxing out on everything you throw. I mean, that's where the injuries are coming from. When you try to throw as hard as you possibly can, whether, of course, we know that breaking balls put more stress on your arm than fastballs, but what really puts stress on your arm is just trying to max out how hard you throw any of them. And so no matter the Dodgers have tried to limit innings, it doesn't matter. Guys are going on the IL because they're maxing out. And so until you have a bunch of Gavin Stone types that are trying to throw sinkers, to the right, turn the ball right with a sinker, turn the ball left with a cutter, an occasional four seam and a changeup, but it's all about movement, kind of a Landon Knack type guy. Till you go back to that style of pitcher, or Greg Maddux style of pitcher, you're going to continue to have these types of injuries. So I agree with you on that point. That's why you have depth. That's why Don Tomatley said this many different times. That's why you keep your River Ryans and don't trade them away. That's why you keep your Landon Knacks. That's why you keep your Gavin Stones that people wanted to trade away last year. That's why you keep your Ben Kasparius who's on the IL right now. But That's why you keep your Justin Robleskis and all guys like that, because you're going to need 10, maybe 15 starters throughout 162 game schedule, and you need all that depth. Hey, Mr. Seabat, I don't know, John Roberts does that. The Dodgers fan base will not. Christopher Navarro, we pretty much had back-to-back bullpen games. We need a solid start tomorrow. I was curious to see what they're going to do Sunday. I'm excited about Robo's start tomorrow. I was thinking maybe River Ryan Sunday, but then I was thinking, well, how are they going to get him on the 40-man roster, and how would all that work? And it would be crazy and chaotic and all this. And then River Ryan threw – the problem with River Ryan, he threw last night, so he wasn't available Sunday, so it had to become a bullpen game. But rumor is there's a lot of smoke out there that River Ryan might make his Major League debut sometime after the All-Star break, and I got to see him in person. I've got a lot of great video on River Ryan if you want to go check that out on my social medias. Very good. He was throwing a changeup at around 90 miles an hour that had a good right turn to it. Fastball was 98. He's reached 100 with it. The slider was really dirty. And then he was flipping some curveballs in early in counts like we saw Landon Knack do last night to steal some strikes and strategically pitch backwards when he needed to. So, hey, John Quimby, Seabad kind of want to spare the horses. Okay, so I mentioned that Freddie Freeman home run I really thought was a huge play because you have this big old hulking dude that's throwing 98 from the left side. He's layering his off-speed pitches. He's one of the best pitchers in the game, although he dominates bad hitters. I would be interested to see whenever you put a lineup together of really good hitters over and over and over how well he would do against very elite skilled hitters and not just bad hitters, because I think he dominates bad hitters. I would be interested to see that. But we mentioned that home run by Freeman, I think, gave the dugout confidence that they could hit Tarek Skubal. And then basically at that point, you're down one run, and it was just hold on. And, you know, Coach Holt talks about this all the time, just stabilize. Johan Ramirez did a good job, and then that's whenever we talked about just a minute ago. Evan Phillips, that's why he needs to be getting the most important 3 outs and not the last 3 outs. You had to keep that game within reach. You had to hold on. The Dodgers definitely did that. And so it just kind of felt like for the middle part of that game, the Dodgers were just having to hold serve until they could get to the Detroit bullpen, which, by the way, is not very good. You can hear my Dodgers dog in the background. I think she dropped. I think my boy Barn dropped his toy, and he's not very happy about it. So I think he picked it up. We might be all right here, but I might have to talk to him back and forth every now and then. So held serve until you got into the Detroit bullpen, of which if it's just a one-run game, any kind of close game, that favors the Dodgers. Let's fast forward now. Well, actually, let's talk about the slide into second base on the overturned call and the steal. I mean, slide in the bag. I love instant replay, but, man, I hate it when it's used like that. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. That's why fielders are taught, and Chris Taylor did a great job. Keep your glove on the base runner, because when they slide, they might come off the bag. Chris Taylor did a great job of keeping his glove. I can't remember exactly who it was at the time, whoever stole second base. That was a huge overturn because you felt like the Dodgers couldn't go down 2 runs. That kept the Dodgers within that 1-run gap, and that was huge. So I thought that was terrible mechanics of sliding in the back. You can't come off the back. I mean, what are you doing? You're not going to third base. I mean, I can understand if you're pop-up sliding because you need to pop up and find the baseball, so you need to see if you're going to advance. But you're stealing second base. Why are you coming off the bag? I mean, that's just the kind of stuff that bad teams do. And then I'll tell you another thing that really helped the Dodgers late in the game. If you noticed, and I love A.J. Hinch. A.J. Hinch played in Midwest City, Oklahoma, which is right here in the Oklahoma City area. He was just absolutely awesome. Midwest City's a fantastic school. Same area as Matt Kemp, same high school that Matt Kemp went to. So, I mean, they produced massive studs. A.J. Hinch is a stud. I know he was the manager of the 2017 cheating Astros. So, got to look past that. But he's kind of blood to me because I grew up having to coach against him. He's from Oklahoma. And so, from that aspect, it's hard for me not to like the guy, right? Because I have a personal history with him. But, I mean, what are you doing? You're shading hitters up the middle to pull, and then you're throwing everything on the outer half. And Chris Taylor's like, thank you very much. Shoheiohtani's like, thank you very much. You know, it was like your fielder is like you're playing a defense to throw a certain sequence of pitches, and then you're throwing the exact opposite sequence. I mean, I don't know if it's a lack of communication or what exactly was going on, but between that steal and the runner coming off the bag and getting out, and then not throwing pitches to where you're shading your defense, it just kind of struck me as, well, that's what teams that don't win a whole lot do. That kind of stuff right there, that even as the other team's manager, like, you know, whenever you've lost 4 games in a row, sometimes you need the other team to make some mistakes to help you out. And that's exactly what happened. And hey, another thing also, Ryan Valade went to Stillwater High School. His dad, James Valade, was one of Josh's assistants for many years at Oklahoma State University. I am good friends with James Valade. He now lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, started his own academy, had to coach against Ryan while he was at Stillwater. I'll never forget it. We struck him out his first at bat in Guthrie. Second at bat, my assistant coach turned to me, Terry Bennett, who's the head coach at Guthrie, now one of my best friends in the world. He goes, hey, man, you want to walk this dude? This dude's going to be playing in the major leagues someday. I said, hell no, I don't want to walk this guy. He said, well, why not? You think we can get him out? I said, absolutely not. I don't think we can get him out. But when he hits this ball, I want to see it. I want to see what a major leaguer looks like hitting this baseball at Squires Field. I said, we'll win games. I ain't worried about it. It's not a district game. I want to see this big boy hit a baseball. So sure as heck, we threw him. About 2 pitches later, we threw Ryan Valade an inside and high fastball. Zach Henry did, one of my good pitchers. And he didn't hit a home run, but he hit a line drive off the left field wall that I still remember. I swear to God, from the time it came off his bat till the time it hit the left field wall, we had a metal wall, and it was 16 foot high. They call it like kind of like the green monster. It's the blue monster in Guthrie, and it's made out of sheet metal. And I can remember the sound that it made, and it was like it got off his bat into that wall in like a half a second. I was like, yep, that's what it looks like to watch a major leaguer hit a baseball. And I was like, that memory that you just made right there is way more important than if we would have walked him and maybe got another out. So interesting story there about Ryan Valade. So to start the 8th inning, I thought this was important. Gavin Lux, I thought he had a really nice at bat. He battled. He actually hit a hard fly ball. Now, did he get on base? No. But did he start the inning in just kind of a competitive mood? Absolutely. Sometimes you can set a tone without actually getting on base. By just having a quality at bat, by just competing, and by just showing your dugout that the pitcher on the mound is very gettable. I felt like even though Gavin Lux hit a hard fly ball and got out there in the 8th inning, I thought he started that 8th inning off by setting a good mood. And then we talked about Ohtani. I'm not sure why he was dead set on looking fastball in. He knew you were going to get the curveball away. And then how about this? So Shohei gets the not curveball away, changeup. Shohei gets the changeup away, strikes out on it. Freddie Freeman's on deck. Guess what he's checking out? Hey, he's checking out sequences. This is what Hall of Fame players do. So Shohei gets struck out on a changeup away. Well, guess how they attacked? They attacked Freddie Freeman with 2 strikes. They tried to throw him a changeup away. He knew it was coming, and he knew just to, hey, stay on it, stay back on it, go the other way with it. Freddie Freeman thought line drive. He thought go the other way. He thought changeup away, hit the ball to left center. So Freeman gets things started by paying attention on deck. He knew the changeup on the outer half was coming. He had seen it to Shohei, and once he got it, he absolutely knew what to do with it. And then how about the sinker that came back in over the plate? Hey, I talked to Jack Dreyer about this. That pitch, if you put that pitch on a track, man, in a bullpen that Teo Hernandez hit, that thing's going to have 32 inches of movement. It's going to be 94 miles an hour, and all of the stats geeks are going to go, woo, look at that. But whenever you throw it to a major league hitter and it comes back over the middle of the plate, actually all that movement worked against you because you started at about 6 inches off the plate, and if you just had a little bit of movement like a sinker's supposed to have, it probably would have stayed on the outer edge. But because it had so much movement, It actually came back over the plate. Tio Hernandez, not trying to do too much with it, serves the ball into right field on a sinker that came back over the plate. And then also Will Smith, hey, I know he didn't hit the ball hard, but you know what he did? He put the thing in fair territory. He hit the dang ball. He didn't strike out. He gave his team a chance, and because of that, sometimes you get lucky. You never get lucky when you strike out. When you swing and miss and you walk back to the dugout, there is nothing that can happen for you that you can get lucky on and can be positive. Now, I understand some strikeouts aren't bad because you could have an 8-9 pitch at bat and you can grind the pitch count. Your dugout gets to see I understand all that. But in that scenario, there is no strikeout that is positive. In the 8th inning, when you're trying to come back from a 1-run deficit and you're the visitors, you got to just figure out some way to put the ball in play. Will Smith did that. He bloops one. Freddie Freeman pays attention to the changeup on the outer half. Tio gets the sinker that comes back over the plate. And then you had the Tigers shading the middle of the field while they were throwing pitches to the outer half of the plate. Tio Hernandez is like, thank you very much. Christaylor's like, thank you very much. Like I said, just didn't make any sense to me. And then how about the British gas? Okay, Michael Peterson. This felt like a trust tree moment to me for him. And what do I mean by that? Michael Peterson has a good fastball. I mean, his fastball consistently hits 100 miles an hour or more. He also has a good slider that he didn't want to throw. His first 3 or 4 sliders, he was pulling them, and it's because it was like, you know what? The last thing I'm going to do is roll a slider in there and roll, because you know what a bad slider is, right? It turns into a bad fastball, a cement mixer in the middle of the plate. He was not going to hang a slider. So all of his sliders that he threw were basically getting pulled. They weren't close. And so I was a little bit disappointed in the 3-2 call where Will Smith called the slider that Peterson pulled. And I can't remember the hitter. Canna, I believe it was Canna. Canna was at the plate. He pulled the 3-2 pitch. I don't know how Canna laid off the 2-2 slider. That was a nice pitch. But the 3-2 slider, I know he'd fouled off a whole bunch of pitches. It was a long at bat. You felt like you'd seen the fastball many different times. Fine. There was no way that Michael Peterson was going to throw a strike there for that 3-2 slider because he was in mode of, hey, don't hang it. He was in don't hang it mode with that slider. So I tell you what, the eureka moment for him, in my opinion, the moment where, hey, that's it, I'm in the trust tree, was when Michael Peterson, because we know he can throw the fastball. When he threw the slider to Rogers and he struck him out on the slider, it's always like the things that are the hardest for you are the ones you're the most proud of. Those are the ones that give you the most confidence. That was it. That was the trust tree moment for me, for Big Mike, for British Gas. When he threw the slider to Rogers, I was like, hell yeah. Finally, he said, you know what? I'm going to have to land at least one slider in this inning. It might as well be this one. And wow, was that a great pitch to Rogers. That was a big-time slider, and that, to me, was a trust tree moment for Michael Peterson. Also, as a coach, I can't tell you how much I appreciate Miguel Rojas. What a stud. Hey, he saw Michael Peterson pulling those sliders, and I have no idea what Rojas said to him, but I'll bet it went something like, hey, Mike, you got a fastball that's 100. You've got a slider that they can't hit. All you have to do right now, brother, is throw it in there and trust your stuff and let the chips fall where you may. Win, lose, or draw, brother, we got your back. We love you. But what we want you to do right here is we want you to compete. We want you to trust yourself, and we want you to just go execute. And if they beat you, they beat you. Now, I don't know what Miguel Rojas said, but I'll bet it was something like that because Miguel Rojas is an absolute stud. He is a coach on the field, and you could tell he was coaching Michael Peterson, not on the mechanics. I mean, he wasn't telling him what pitch to throw. He was setting his mentality. For a young guy, Miguel Rojas knew that was a trust tree moment for Michael Peterson. He knew that was a big moment for him. And so when he went out there, he helped work him through that big moment emotionally. And injected confidence into Michael Peterson. So because of that, Miguel Rojas is an absolute stud. And then Christaylor, we've talked many different times, ditch the launch angle, hit the baseball in the back of your swing before you start lifting. Barnesy, you pinch hit James Albin, then you bring in Barnes. So the decision for Dave Roberts to bring in Evan Phillips to bridge the game past Tarek Skubal, and then the double pinch hit where Barnes ended up getting a hit. Okay, are we all good with Austinbarnes at this point? You're not going to find a better backup catcher than him. I'm not going to go on that rant again. I did that a couple of weeks ago. You probably don't want to hear. In fact, I know you don't want to hear me go on that again. But Austinbarnes is on the merit system. 1,000% he is. And then Trinan and Hudson, Dave knew he had both of them ready. And, man, I tell you what, I can't remember who the hitter was, but you had the runner on first base. Hudson had just walked a guy. He had thrown a couple of pitches that weren't close. And then he throws a slider on a 2-1 count that wasn't close. That the hitter, I can't remember the name for the hitter. If you remember it, put the hitter's name that swung at that 2-1 count in the dirt. So now instead of it being 3-1 and Daniel Hudson thinking, well, I just walked the last guy, I'm not close to the zone right now, and possibly walking first and second. Now it's 2-2. He throws a little cutter tie. If you notice that next pitch, this is beautiful. So he had been kind of pulling that slider like Michael Peterson was doing. So look at that 2-2 slider he threw, whatever the hitter's name was in that moment. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a blank on that. I didn't actually write the name down. He shortened it. He made it a smaller slider. And he did that because he wanted to make sure he got it in the strike zone and just throw something in there with a little bit of movement in the strike zone. Because in big moments, if you can move the ball and do that while staying in the strike zone, you're going to be able to use the aggressiveness of the hitter against themselves, and you're going to get exactly what Daniel Hudson got. That's why you love veterans, because they know how to handle those moments, and they know how to – the game doesn't speed up on them, and they know how to use that advantage whenever they know the game is speeding up on the hitter. I thought by shortening that slider, that was brilliant by Daniel Hudson. And at that point, once he executed that cutter, I really thought that was ball game. I mean, I had confidence there. Totally agree, Deuce. The at-bats in the 8th inning were just fantastic. And again, they weren't just, hey, shorten up, put the ball in play like Will Smith did, like even Ohtani did. No, not Ohtani, but Freddie Freeman did, like Christaylor did. But it was the fact that Freddie Freeman had paid attention to how they got Shoheiohtani out with the changeup away, hard in, soft away, that kind of deal, and put a game plan together and was right. So he absolutely paid attention. So, hey, we have a lot of comments in the section. We have a good crowd logging in. I'm by myself. We don't have a big enough crowd yet. Let's get on social media. Let's get everybody over here. Let's get after it. Let's get this crowd up to where it needs to be, and let's have a good conversation about Dodgers baseball, because the 4-game losing streak is over. Justin Robleski throws tomorrow with a chance for the Dodgers to win this series. You need to win that because you have a bullpen game on Sunday. The All-Star break is right around the corner. So do me a favor. If you know the people on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, get them over here to Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, and let's have a nice conversation about Dodgers baseball. Okay, so let me get into some of these comments here that we've had that I have not been able to cover. Tamale, thank you so much for joining. Hey, Casey, watching one of the Loons last games with DePaula. The announcer said he hung with Soto and De La Cruz in the offseason. Potential big-headedness going on, maybe. No comment on that. He's confident in himself, I'll say that. Christopher Navarro, Casey, what's up with Walker Buehler working out of Florida instead of at a Dodgers complex? This is a new thing, man. These hitters have their own hitting instructors. They have their own pitching instructors. And the Dodgers will tell you this is your career. So you do what you need to do to make your career as successful as you possibly can be. That's how the Dodgers view this. Because if this is actually what Walker Buehler thinks is best for him, and Walker Buehler comes back as the best version of Walker Buehler, then that's only going to help the Dodgers. So it's a new school way of doing things. I mean, but if he thinks doing his own thing is going to make him a better version of Walker Buehler, whatever. I don't like it, but hey, I don't make the decisions. And I do know that the players in this organization, they love the fact that Dodgers, they don't make demands, they make requests, and they tell you this is your career. You do what you feel like you need to do to be the best version of yourself. Hey, Mr. Seabad Casey, if Andrew Friedman granted you one trade, what trade would you make? Well, it'd be Garrett Crochet, and it wouldn't even be close at this point. Showtime LA, also Sway's eye is Juan Soto-like. Yep, opposite way too, yeah. Okay, so we have some good conversation on the good at-bats by the Dodgers. Chris Navarro, your thoughts on Outman trying to bunt lately? I'd be okay with it if he looked like he knew how to. Well, he did it, I'd say 3 or 4 times in Oklahoma City. I actually have it on my social media several different times of James Outman actually executing bunts to third base and getting bunt base hits. So he's done it before, and he's done it recently. He's capable of doing it. It would be a tool in his tool bag. If James Outman could just be somewhere around average offensively, he would be a weapon for this team because he's very good defensively. I thought the ball that got over Andy. So, for instance, the fly out in the 8th inning by Gavin Lux was actually hit harder than the ball that got over Andy Pages' head earlier in the game. I think if that's James Outman in center field, I think he catches that ball. And I think that's probably fairly routine for him because he gets a jump off the ball. He's great going back. He's awesome around the wall. And I think he catches that ball. That ball got over Andy Pages' head. We saw one hit in front of Andy earlier in the game as well, kind of to his left. And so if James Outman could be anywhere close to average offensively, he's going to substantially, in my opinion, improve your defense because you're going to get a better center field. And then Andy Pages is going to move to right field, and Andy Pages is a way better right fielder than he is center fielder. But the problem is I think the impact bats are corner guys. So if you want, it's going to come down to Andy Pages or James Outman, not both. And right now, from the offensive, so it's going to come down to, do you want the offense of Andy Pages or do you want the defense of James Outman? That's what it's going to come down to. I think the Dodgers are squarely an offensive organization, offense and pitching. I think they would value the offense first. So, yes, no doubt, Deuce Rojas is a coach on the field 100%. Sammy Boy Smith, I hope we pick up Rojas' option in the winter. I love the guy. Even last year, if you go back to our shows last year, I was defending the guy last year just because I loved his mentality. I loved the way that he plays. Hey, Sammy Boy Smith, Barnes is always ranked top 10 to 15 backup catchers on offense. Was bottom 8 last year. He's top 5 backup caller. I agree. Again, I'm glad you agree with me, Sammy Boy Smith, that Austin Barnes is in the merit system because I have taken DMs, I've taken messages. You wouldn't believe the amount of grief I've taken with that rant I went on about Austin Barnes being on the merit system, but that's okay. I mean, it's just one man's opinion. So Christopher Navarro, it's sad that the players learn the strike zone only to have home plate umpires like yesterday and today. Both strike zones were like moving amoebas. I didn't really notice it a whole lot today. It wasn't as big of a factor today. I'll say this, the challenge system is the way to go. 1,000%. Challenge system 100% works. Hey, John Quimby, let's hit the like button, folks. Got to check out for the night, Casey. Thanks, Coach. Outman plays center field like Bellinger. Yeah, Outman's very good. So, hey, that is pretty much all that I have for my notes on the game today. Super excited about Justin Robleski. Here are some things that I will be looking for Robo. So if you remember the Christian Yelich home run, he threw the slider. Dave mentioned in the postgame, he thinks that he has a couple of ways that Robo could get lefties out in a different way. I'll be interested to see how Justin Robleski attacks left-handed hitters tomorrow. I'll be interested to see if he incorporates the sinker left on left and works that sinker back in on the hands of left-handers. Follow the game logs and follow along and see if Justin Robleski is throwing the sinker. Also, as Tomatley said many different times, I think if he gets that sinker, that left turn working, that takes a lot of pressure off his right turn pitches. And so it's going to make it to where he doesn't have to be quite as perfect with his slider. So I'll be interested to see if the mix tomorrow is his 4-seam, that's top of the echelon now, 2-seam to turn left, cutter/slider to turn right, and then some kind of curveball or whatever offering he wants to bring, that's going to tumble straight down. That's going to give you every shape, and he's totally capable of executing. I know Austin was in Detroit tonight. Austin saw both Gavin Stone and Justin Wrobleski, said hi to them. I think they had like maybe a 10-second conversation, and Austin will tell you Justin Wrobleski is one of the most confident human beings you will ever be around. Okay, Tamale says Fangraphs shows Robo's best stuff plus location on the entire staff. 100%. I've been saying that for a long time. I don't look at Stuff Plus on Fangraphs. I use my own eyes, and I know a lot of times Austin uses data, but I can tell you that. I did see his TrackMan data at Oklahoma State. I take that back. I did cheat on that. I saw it there. I knew what the metrics were like as far as that goes. But when you say Stuff Plus, and I don't know exactly how they calculate that, yeah, no doubt, Tamale. And also, you can ask Darren Olinger, you can ask Dave Anderson, anybody who's worked with Justin Wrobleski. What they'll tell you is he's a power pitcher with an execution focus. His execution literally usually is laser focused. And the reason why that is because he's very analytical. He goes in depth, and he does a lot of his own game planning. He prepares a lot of his own sequencing. And you know as well as I do, when you take ownership into something, it's like when you're 16 years old and you mow a bunch of lawns and you buy your own vehicle, okay? You're going to take care of that vehicle. Whereas if you just do whatever the hell you want and mommy and daddy buy you that vehicle, which I'm not saying that's bad, and you didn't have to do anything to earn it, you're likely not going to appreciate it as much. So whenever you put the grind in and the work in and the sweat equity behind your game plan and behind the planning of your sequencing, you're going to take ownership of that like you do that vehicle that you mowed all those lawns for, and therefore that's going to by itself improve execution. Andy F. will be busy. Should be a fun deadline. I'm for at the minimum Garrett Crochet, to be honest with you. If they went and got Garrett Crochet and stopped right there, I'm good with it. I think between Teo, you're going to get Hayward back, Andy Pages, I think you can survive the outfield deal. If you can get Max Muncy back and Mookie Betts back, that would be huge, obviously. And then also, even if you don't get Max Muncy back, I'll say it again, I don't think there's anybody out there you go get that's worth giving up prospects that's actually going to move the needle at third base. I think your best option at that point is in-house. I think your best option is Miguel Rojas at third, Mookie Betts at short, Gavin Lux at second base. If Gavin Lux continues to play good offense like he has the last two nights. He had the home run last night, he had 2 hits last night, and he had a great at-bat to start the 8th inning and hit a really hard fly ball. Hey, you can only control what you can control. All you can do is have a great at-bat, hit the baseball hard, put it out there, and if it happens to go right at somebody, you can't control that. But that's 3 really great at-bats in the last 2 nights from Gavin Lux. So if Max Muncy doesn't make it back, another option, I've said it many different times, Cody Hosey. Cody Hosey hit home run, I believe, number 11 last night, and that dude is really playing good in AAA Oklahoma City. Exactly. Most available fielders don't move the needle. Give Hosey a chance. This is a guy, 2019, Cody Hosey, that had an oblique injury just like Max Muncy in 2021. So he came into the organization as a first-round draft pick, 2019, had a great start, and then COVID canceled 2020, and then the oblique canceled his 2021. 2022, he got hot. He broke his foot. Last year, he got hot. He had another injury. And then this year, he's been great all year. And I'm telling you, it's not just the numbers. Just go watch him swing the bat. That's a confident young man. Now, would he hit major league pitching? I don't know. I mean, but you're never going to know until you see it. But I do know this. He would bring you elite defense. I've said it many different times. He's the best defensive infielder in the entire organization, and I will defend that until the cows come home. So I'm with you on that, Tamale. give Cody Hosey a chance. And that would be kind of interesting. Of course, I mean, are you giving him a chance like to be the future third baseman, or are you giving him a chance to be the third baseman to end this season? When you say a chance, what do you mean? Are you giving him a chance to be the starting third baseman for the rest of this year on a team that has World Series championship expectations? Or again, are you giving him the chance of being future? That's kind of what I'm saying. Hey, Sho-Time LA, thanks, Casey. We appreciate the hell out of you. Right up there at DMAC and Clint for the best Dodgers content creators. Love your content. Hey, appreciate that so much. Again, going to remind you tomorrow, have the Trey Sweeney interview coming out. I believe that's early in the morning. Going to put my Down on the Farm segment together in the morning. Be looking for the Down on the Farm segment. A little disappointed. It didn't get downloaded a whole lot today. If you haven't seen the Down on the Farm segment yet, go download that and go watch that. Going to put that out in the morning, and you have an interview tomorrow. And then after that, I'm going to go fishing. And the next time you see me, I have messaged Bruce Kuntz, and I'm hoping Sunday night, we're trying to work together here, trying to get Bruce Kuntz on the show Sunday night. So we'll see if that works. So, hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. What a way to break a 4-game losing streak. And my man, Justin Roblo, on the bump tomorrow. Life is good.